A preliminary report into last month's Air India disaster indicates fuel supply to both engines was cut off shortly after takeoff. 260 people were killed in the crash after the Boeing 787 departed Ahmedabad bound for London. According to the report, the cockpit voice recording reveals that one of the pilots can be heard asking the other why he moved the fuel switches to cut off. The other pilot responded that he did not do so. Setting the fuel switches to cut off starves the engines of fuel. Now, before we speak to our correspondent in Delhi, here's a look at how the events unfolded on June 12th when Air India Flight 171 crashed, the world's deadliest aviation disaster in a decade.
This CCTV footage shows Flight 171 as it was taking off in the western Indian city of Ahmedabad. It reached an altitude of about 200 metres, but then suddenly it stopped climbing and began a rapid descent. Shortly afterwards, the plane erupted into a fireball as it hit the ground. Rescue crews rushed to the site, but 241 of the 242 people on board were killed instantly. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner hit a medical college hostel, and authorities later confirmed a further 19 people on the ground died. Dozens more were injured. The plane was just leaving Ahmedabad and was headed to London. There were 169 Indian passengers, 53 British, 7 Portuguese and a Canadian, along with a 12-person crew. Officials say the investigation into the disaster has been run under international rules. The probe is being led by India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, along with the US National Transportation Safety Board. And a specialist from the United Nations has been granted observer status over the process. 2 so-called black boxes were recovered from a rooftop at the crash site. The flight data they contained, however, was not downloaded until some 2 weeks after the crash. The unusual delay led to speculation from aviation experts that the boxes could have been sent to the US for analysis. So far, answers have been slow coming, dogged by a lack of information being offered to the public. And those who lost their loved ones in the tragedy are still trying to understand what happened and what led to the world's worst aviation disaster in a decade.
Right, for more, let's cross over to DW Delhi Bureau Chief Sandra Petermann. Sandra, what more did we learn from investigators on what they compiled in this report?
Well, Anthony, this preliminary report is 15 pages long and it seemingly rules out any other potential causes for the crash other than the fatal movement of the fuel switches. Now, let me look at my notes here. The fuel switches were moved, according to the report, from run to cut-off within 1 second of each other, only seconds after takeoff. And now the only time to move these switches at all, one for each engine, would be before takeoff and after landing. Now, they are located in the central console of the cockpit, and it seems absolutely unlikely, according to experts, that you can move them accidentally, because if you want to move them, you first have to lift them up, then move them and release them into position. And also, like you've pointed out at the beginning of the show, the voice recording reveals that one pilot asked the other, "Why did you cut off?" and the other one saying, "I did not do so." Now, it is not clear which pilot asked the other these questions. And the preliminary report then goes on to highlight the fact that at least one of the 2 pilots was trying to push the switches back into position, which he seemingly achieved, but too late. And we saw that fatal crash on June 12th after a frantic mayday call.
Aside from the technical analysis as to the performance of the aircraft, what else did the investigation have to say about the performance of the pilots here?
Well, obviously, they are very crucial to the sequence of events. The investigators have not issued any alert to other aircrafts, either operating the same kind of machine, the Dreamliner, or the same kind of engine. And this points to the fact that they do not believe that there is any systemic failure involved here, which brings us back to the pilots. Now, according to the report, the two male pilots were both experienced, well-rested, and had passed the compulsory breathalyzer test. One was 56 years of age with more than 15,000 flight hours. The other was 32 years of age with more than 3,400 flight hours. It was the younger one who was flying the plane on that fatal day, and it's not yet clear from the voice recording, from the recovered voice recording, who asked, why did you cut off, and who responded, I did not do so. This will for sure be the main focus of the ongoing investigations, which might very well last for many more months.
DW's Sandra Petermann in Delhi, thank you so much.